What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and thanks for joining me for another episode where I get to sit down with more incredible humans. On our next episode in the Tactical Games National Champion Series, I sit down with the first ever men's 60 plus division champion, Jeff Craddock. Now, he's actually what started the 60 plus division after a couple years of trying to initiate this and showing that there is a want and a need to grow the Masters division. Jeff first started Tactical Games back in 2020, and honestly, it was a bit of a love-hate relationship for him in the sport. But he continued on, and then in 2023, he died for 11 minutes on the firing line. He gets into that entire story, what exactly happened moment by moment, and why he decides to continue to come back to this sport and challenge himself, even though sometimes he does have fear. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was so fun getting to know Jeff on even a deeper level. And without any further ado, let's welcome him into the show. Jeff, it is so good to be sitting with you, and I think you're one of the first guys that I met when I started Tactical Games. You just have this big personality. You're so welcoming, and I feel like you truly are the definition of what it's like to be a Tactical Games athlete.
Well, I thank you for that, but I'm just doing what I can do to be me, I guess. That's, you go somewhere and you're comfortable because you want to be there, and so it makes it all easy, really easy then. So
well, and you have been somewhat of a trailblazer in this sport because we'll get to it. We want to lay the groundwork first, but for people that don't know, you are one of the really big reasons why Nick and Amanda, the owners of Tactical Games, decided to add a men's 60 plus division for the first time, and now you're the champion of the division.
Yeah, that was so that was a bit of planning I couldn't have planned for, but I did. I pushed them to add the 60 plus. I kept bending Nick's ear about it because, and I think I told you when we were in Florida, which was the first time we competed as a category, not a division.
Yeah.
And I said, look, you have to give older guys a place to go or we're going home, because they're not getting younger, but we are getting older. And I can't compete against the 50-year-olds anymore. And so, by the time you're in your mid-60s, it's not even remotely possible, just from a physical standpoint, to compete. And that's not to say that, you're there to win, but anybody who says, oh, I go there just to please myself, that's bullshit. You're not doing stuff to please yourself. You're doing it because you want something for it. And whatever that is that you're winning it, even if it's, I did better than I did last time. I get it. But the reality is you want some recognition. You want to win. That's the whole point. And it's not just about winning, but a win might be, I beat this guy on the run by 5 seconds. I'm taking that and running with it. And so,
literally.
Exactly. so there's all sorts of things that people get out of this, but in the end, it really comes back to competitive people do competitive things. They don't want to go and just get their ass handed to them all the time when they have no chance. If it's because you didn't train or you didn't prepare, that's fine. But at some point, this age thing, when I was 40, I didn't believe it at all. Now that I'm 60, I can tell you there's a huge difference. From 40 to 50 is a big jump. From 50 to 60 is light years. I can't imagine what it's going to be when I'm 70.
There'll be a 70 plus division by the time you get there.
I'm going to start working when I'm 68.
Yeah. Smart way to think ahead. When did you turn 60, Jeff?
I just turned 60 this year. So,
well, happy birthday.
Well, thanks. I was turning 58 when I first said, or I was turning 59 when I
Ah,
first said something to him. And you know, last year at Nationals, I got eighth in the 50 plus, and I was actually pretty happy with that.
top 10, that's
From
nothing to sniff about.
yeah. I mean, the guys, everybody who beat me should have beat me, not from a shooting standpoint, but from a physical standpoint.
Hmm.
I think the oldest guy that was ahead of me was like 54.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a big
So
difference.
it shows, you know, and by the time you start looking at the guys that were around me and just after me, now you're getting in the upper 50s. And then a few after me was the first guy, I think Mike Tricino. So last year he was 62. He's 63 this year. So, you know, it shows that guys who put the work in, you can only do so much when you're of a certain age.
Well, and I mean, you look and correct me if I'm wrong, but there were 15 guys in the men's 60 plus
Yeah.
division.
Yep.
Like
We
it
had
wasn't
15
just one
guys.
squad. Yeah, so it's really interesting that this was something that you wanted, and then all of these other competitors showed up and were like, "Hey, yeah, we can stack a division where it is still competitive for
Well,
us."
they didn't just show up. I mean, I had been talking to other guys before I was working Nick, and I realized that not only were there other guys who were like, yeah, we got to have, there's several others. There's three coming into 60 this year from the 50s that I know of. There might be more. And then the guys who were 58 this year, they've already started talking to me as well. And they're like, hey, you know, is the 60 plus going to grow? Is it like, well, yeah, it grew at Nationals. But yeah, we just, there's a lot of guys. There's even guys since I started doing this that have left because there was no 60 plus.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's several of them that, I mean, people can name that I only knew from the very beginning. I saw them competing, and they were competing 3, 4, 5 times a year, but they couldn't compete. So they were like, wow, I'll go do this because it's not quite as physical, but my shooting skills will work there, and I can compete with the younger guys. Because they were already over 60 or at 60 when I was 56 and 57 when I first started. So, you know, there's plenty of guys out there, and I'm hoping some of those guys will come back now.
Yeah, because it's something to strive for in a division where they feel like they still can be competitive, and I think that that's so important to note that, you know, this mindset that we have our peak fitness or peak competitive age when we're in our 20s, maybe when we're in college and a little bit after. It's cool to see it debunked when you have sports like this that very much have divisions where you
Right.
can still be competitive and you can still see gains, like whether it's beating a race time by 5 seconds or beating somebody else by 5 seconds. There's still really tangible things you can achieve.
I think within all the different categories, but in particular within the Masters, there are numerous races within races going on because you're with your buddies and you're like, dude,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen this time. You're done, you know? And so all these, for us, we were at Nationals this year. We had a whole group of us that were together, and it was a constant competition between us and then with the whole stage. So, or with the whole group. So, you know, there's a lot of different things going on, but in reality, you have to have the different age groups. I mean, you see that in all sports. If it's really physical, not just technical. You know, if you're older, you can compete with someone in a technical sport. So,
So
but
then where do
I
you think,
thank
like,
Nick so much for doing it.
well, yeah, and it's incredible to see that people showed up for it and were competitive. So I'm
Yeah.
curious that now as we continue to build some of the other masters divisions, where can you recruit people? Is it at, you know, two gun matches, USPCA matches? Is it the gym? Where are you getting people to say, "Hey, come and do this thing with me. You're going to learn a lot and it's going to be really fun."
Well, I don't know. So what's funny is the guys that are showing up. they seem to be in some ways they're just random guys. I don't know
Yeah.
how they're finding it. I've got, I don't know, 3,000 followers on Instagram, and I think more than that on Facebook or something. And that's from other things I do, but there's a lot of guys who are just like me, and they ask me. There's a ton of guys asking me questions about it, yet they're not showing up because they realize that it's hard. And they have to put in the work, and not everybody is in the same place where they're able. Most people who are 60 years old are working a full-time job, and
Sure.
and as the majority of people doing the games are. But if this is your sport, then you find time for that. And I ran into the same problem, and I wasn't even really working full-time for the last however many years, but I was a bike racer coming into this. Well, I tried to do both for a while, and it wasn't possible. I couldn't compete on the bike anymore, and I was not putting in the time running that I needed to and time shooting in order to get better at this. And so I may have done better in the beginning if I had been just this. So a lot of guys, this is a new sport. This is a new thing. And most people, when they hear about it, it's probably the first time they've heard about it. So to say, hey, drop what you've been doing for the last 20 years because now you're 60 and come do this, that's tough.
So then what was your journey into the sport like? I know you started around the year 2020, but even before that, you said you were biking. What else was it that eventually transitioned you into this, or what was that catalyst that got you involved?
I was having some physical issues. Um, Bike racing for 20 plus years, 7 years ago, actually more like 25 plus years. I was having a lot of hip issues and shoulder issues. You spend a lot of time like this on the bike, hours and hours and hours, a week. And so you're putting in 15, 16 hours a week in order to be a good bike racer. It takes a toll on the body. And so I realized that I needed to do some sort of cross training. And literally, I stumbled on, I don't even know how I ended up at the tactical games. And I said to a buddy of mine, I said, hey, there's actually one in West Virginia that's going to be like, it's in 4, 5, 6 weeks or something. I was like, this can't be all that hard. I said, you're a physical phenom and I'm a shooter. So let's go do the team thing. Well, then I realized that we were a terrible team because I could shoot and couldn't even come close to keeping up with him physically, and vice versa. So we were like, hey, they have intermediate. So we'll do intermediate. We'll both do it. And long story short with that, we went, we did it. It was a lot of fun. It's only a 5-hour drive for us. So my wife drove us and she was driving us back. We got in the truck afterwards and we didn't stay for the ceremonies or anything. I think he finished 4th, I think, just off the podium, and I finished 7th. And we got in the truck and we drove and drove and drove, and we found a Hardee's or something. We got a burger or something. We stopped at a rest area, and I couldn't walk to the bathroom. My legs just wouldn't work. I hurt so bad. And I was on the front of the truck like this. I'm like, I'm gonna pee on this tire. Can anybody see me out here? But it's pitch black dark. So, I mean, my legs hurt so bad. And it was because in West Virginia that first year, that's West Virginia. They clearly have no bulldozers there. If you had bulldozers, you'd flatten some of that shit out.
Yeah.
And we did a 5-mile run. And there was a couple of hills we went over where you were literally on your hands and knees. It was 45-degree angle up. You had to drag yourself on these clay hills to get up and over. And, it was just really a mess. And I was really a mess. Going into that, I think I did like twice a week, I ran a mile or something. I was not prepared for what I was getting ready to do.
Yeah.
And it was a team event. And it was their very first team event. And so my times were so bad because we got to there was a Zercher carry, and it was like 160 pounds. And I'm like, dude, I can't clean that. And on an axle bar at that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not going to happen. And so Jake was the RO, and Jake is like, no, that's the weight you have to do. Otherwise, you have to break it all down. And I'm like, dude, that's what the teams are doing. The two. You know what two is?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's just like laughing at me. And I'm like, okay, this is not funny. I can't do this. So I had to take all my shit apart and run it all individually down there, all of it like this.
Oh
And then
my
you put it all back
God.
together and then you shoot. Then you take it all back apart and then you run it back. And I mean, the whole weekend, I was just tortured. And I thought, this is bullshit. Why would I do this? When's the next one? I wanted to do one, So this was like July. Of course, it's July and the mountains of
So
West
hot
Virginia.
and
Oh my God,
muggy.
so humid.
Ugh. Gross.
And I went, and I think that was the same year I did Arizona, Phoenix it was like the beginning of October or something. It was the last one before that year's nationals. And I went there and did that. And during that time in between, I ran almost every day. And of course, we got there and only had a 1.3 mile run. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not what I prepared for. And it was so hard. I just thought, how am I not better at this? I assumed I had a better cardio system than everybody there. It was doing me no good whatsoever. So
then
anyway,
what brought
that
you
was,
back?
yeah, well, and I just kept doing them. Then at that point, it was like, okay. And I've been constantly injured since. And people are like, well, why do you keep doing this? And I said, well, I would rather be injured at 60, limping half the damn time, than be sitting on the couch and, weighing an extra 75 pounds. That's not the way to be. And that's just my personal thing. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in staying, as fit as possible, as young as possible, and doing the things you want to do. So this has been the means for that. And that's really what kind of led this, was the idea that you have to be in everything shape. This is not like bike racing. I can't go out and ride my bike, 4 hours, 3 days, 4 days a week, and a couple of 1 hour efforts and be good at it. You have to do everything. And so I really like that aspect. That's what really was the catalyst for keeping me once I went there. It's every time I show up, they're torturing me with something different. And that's a good thing. So
Growing up, did you always have that gritty mindset where you want to do hard things and challenge yourself, or what was the transition in your life that led you to be this way, that still in your 60s you want to do hard things?
I don't think I did anything hard until until I joined the Army. I'm a high school dropout. I went in the Army because it was my only means to get out of Texas, and now you guys are taking me back. And and so I just I don't think that I think since then I credit the Army honestly with saving my life, and giving me direction. Even though I didn't stay, I kept getting pulled back in a few times, and then finally I was completely free of them. But when I started my first business, I really drew on that hey, nothing's too hard. If you don't know anything and you're not the smartest guy in the room, those are never words that people put together with me. If you outwork everybody, you can manage it. And so that works. This worked for me. I wouldn't say it works for everybody. And if you're smart, run with that. That's the best way. But
Well,
not my thing.
clearly it's worked for you.
Well, this part is I can work. and I still do use, even in this, it comes back to engine, because I'm not the strongest by any means. I'm not the fastest, although I've been working on that. I'm not if you look at my results from nationals, it really shows you. I think I finished first twice, but and I want to say it was like 7 or 8 second places, or 6 second places, and another 3 or 4 third places. I don't even.
Yeah, you had a lot of top 3 finishes.
Yeah.
Your lowest finish was an 8th on
Eighth.
stage 8.
Yeah,
I can't
7th.
remember.
I had a 7th and an 8th, and those are both the same damn thing. That stupid 2-gun crap. Clearly, I have to work on this.
You know what you need to work on.
Look at my results. There's no mistaking it. That's exactly what I need to do. So, and I will. As a matter of fact, I built my own little range here, and I'll be working on 2-gun stuff nonstop.
Oh, that's awesome. So you said you have a farm. Have you built a range on the farm, or what's the setup like for you?
I have, I'm embarrassed to say I have everything I could ever need, and I don't really use it. I have
What do you mean you don't use it?
I have a 40 by 75 sand bermed range with lights, the whole works. We used it for something else in the past. And when I moved out here, we stopped all that. I sold that particular store, so we're not using it anymore. It's just me, but I have everything you could ever want for Steel Challenge. I have, everything. I have a Texas Star. I have dueling tree. I have a plate rack. I really don't use it. I shoot in my barn that's like 30 yards from the house. It's much easier.
So you're basically
my range is 300 yards, so I don't go that far.
You're the Masters version of Jacob Hepner. Have you seen videos of his barn and everything? Is your setup kind of like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have 2 barns, and I'm getting ready to build a third. I have a workout gym in my barn. It's heated. It's not like I suffer out there or anything. As a matter of fact, I send my wife out to go turn the heater on in the morning because it's cold in the mornings, I'm kidding. I don't want to get mail. But she does turn it on for me a lot of times because she goes to feed animals, and I'll say, hey, how about turn the heater on for me? So
that's incredible.
I even have a 1,000-yard range here. I can shoot from literally where I'm sitting right now. If you go outside the window that you see here, that door, 7 yards away is a table, and you can see 1,000 yards, and there's targets all the way to 1,000 yards. So
do any of the other, whether it's the men's Masters athletes that you compete against or just friends, come over to use your range or train with or anything like that?
No, none of the guys I compete with or that I'm really friends with are close by. I know there's a few guys in the area, but outside of the tactical games, I have friends who come out and shoot. Of course, we have a large place here, so it's we hunt. We have deer, turkey. I have a 100-acre swamp. We duck hunt. I have a 150-acre lake on the back. So there's a lot of room, and we do a lot of things here, but it's not necessarily for the tactical games. So, and I've set up, I run stages myself. I'll set up a stage, but I have to say, even though I have the room to do that, I can do it anytime I want. I do it when it's like 68 degrees and sunny and no wind. If the weather's perfect, I'll do it, kind of thing. Because when you can, you get lazy about it.
When
if
you have
no ability to do that, if it's 31 and 20-mile-an-hour wind, let's go, man. That's kind of the way that goes.
So when did you start building all of that? Was that before you found tactical games and, you just enjoy these other like forms of shooting and competing?
Oh, yeah. So we've lived on this farm for 3 years. We sold our house in Virginia Beach and moved out here. And then we lived in another house that we have here on the property while we built this house. But all this stuff was kind of here already. The 1,000-yard range wasn't. I did that based on my back porch, and I cut a swath through the woods to get to the next field so that I could go out on the back porch and shoot. So it makes it convenient and easy. And I
Wow.
figured that's what would make me do it.
So you have this incredible training setup. You find tactical games in 2020. It's this kind of love-hate relationship that you hate it in the moment, but then feel grateful when you can look back, and that's what keeps you coming back?
I think it's the accomplishment of, honestly, in my case, the accomplishment of not being injured. I went, Florida of this year was the very first event where I didn't come out of it injured somehow.
Oh, wow.
I've been working this long just to kind of get my body back in the shape or in the condition, not really the shape, but in the condition it needed to be in, because it was bike racing for so long. You're all quads, you're no posterior chain, your butt goes away, your hamstrings go away. I pulled my that second one I did in Phoenix, I pulled my hamstring. My whole hamstring was purple. The last two I finished. So coming into day 2, I was in second place behind Brandon Wyckoff. And I had, my hamstring was flaring up and it was so bad, and it was all purple and then it was starting to swell. I fell from second to fourth, and we left, and we were staying at a resort for a few more days afterwards. And I said to my wife then, I said, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this shit again. I just keep getting so beat up. I mean, a torn hamstring like that is 6 months before you can run, and it's just miserable. And we got home, and then as soon as the next year's schedule came out, I was like, okay, we're going to Mississippi in March, and you get past it a little bit. But for me, it's really, I wanted to get to where I could do it and be healthy and run. And because if I could do this, then I can go do any sport that I want. I can do whatever it is, because I will be physically sound and able to go do it. So that's what brings me back, but it's been a journey. So
It has been a journey, and part of your journey, I think a lot of people within the tactical games community know this about you, but for anybody who doesn't, in I think 2023 season,
September
had
3rd, 2023 at 3:12.
okay, I'm
Here's
just
the
gonna let
time.
you I'm gonna let you take the microphone and walk us through that day and what happened.
Okay, so we were in Vegas, and we were on day 2 of the tactical games, and I was coming into day 2, I was literally like a 1/10 of a percentage off of the podium. And the events we were going to do are my kind of events. They're heavy, hard rope climbs, the things that gas everybody. And then there are shooting suffers where I get to the line, I can take 3 or 4 breaths, and this is where I use my cardio advantage, and my heart rate drops 30 beats just like that. And so we were on the final stage. Mike Tracino was in lane 1, I was in lane 3. In lane 2, the RO, the athlete RO, was Rich Hill. A bunch of other guys were lined up for the next group to come that were waiting. You're there. Matt Ventress was there. Bob Porzai, Dr. Bob. That's the second Dr. Bob. We started. It was supposed to start at 3. We started a little bit late. We picked up our sandbags. We ran. You go over the wall. You climb the rope. Come down the rope. I'm looking over at Mike Tracino because he's He's a small guy. He's like a monkey on the ropes, So I just kept thinking, you keep up with him, and you're going to do really, really great. I'm using him to pace me up the rope. He's dropping off. As I'm dropping, I dropped. I threw the sandbags under. I climbed the wall. I pick up the sandbags. I ran down. I picked up my rifle, and we were going to have to shoot underneath. It was the 3-slot one, the barricade that has 3 slots on it, and a triangle up top. I was starting at the bottom, and I got down to my knees, and I remember going to my knees, and that's the last I remember. Rich Hill said, the moment I saw you go down, you never moved your arms from where they were, and you just went to your face. I knew you were out. So a ceasefire was called. So to my right, standing by like lane 4, was Willie. Willie was the RO for the whole thing.
McLendon.
The stage RO. So he was the stage RO. He's calling ceasefire because I'm clearly down. Rich had rushed over to me and flipped me over and realized that it's something even more than what he thought. And Roe was on this particular stage, so he started taking pictures, which are really interesting pictures. So long story short, I had gone into VTAC, and
what does that mean in the simplest terms?
In the simplest terms, my heart received a signal to beat as fast as it can and never stop. That's the thing. It goes into there's some sort of signal that goes into a loop, and your heart, so my heart didn't stop. My heart was beating at 400 to 500 beats a minute. Well, wow. That's just a quiver. It's doing this. And a trained person can figure that out. And so I had Rich Hill, a 30 plus year firefighter, who comes over, flips me over, realizes it, and knows it. The problem with VTAC, and the reason that, the numbers are all over the place, but somewhere between 85 and 99% of the people that go into VTAC die. And the reason is you can't correct it with beating on someone's chest or CPR. No amount of CPR for however long, none of this is going to work. You have to have an AED, and you have to use electric shock. So, example, if that had happened to me here out on my climbing wall, which is, 75 yards behind the house here, and even if my wife saw me go down and she rushed out there, what are the odds she could keep up CPR long enough for an ambulance to get out here to me to do something for me? That's why people die. Now, the other part of this is there's a lot. You can really go into the weeds in this thing, but it's not about physical exercise as what they used to think. It's not doing something physical that necessarily starts this. So you could be sitting on the sofa watching TV, and you're eating a bowl of ice cream, and it happens. And if that's the case, you're dead because your wife in the kitchen cleaning it up or doing whatever, or she's somewhere else, you just die. No one, because your heart's moving, but it's not moving any blood. So it's the exact same as if your heart stopped. So in my case, I had Rich Hill. Now, Rich immediately will tell you, oh, everybody did everything. And Bob Porzai, that's the guy. And Bob Porzai will tell you, oh my God, I just stood there. Rich Hill did everything. And Matt Ventress will tell you, those guys saved your life. But those guys told me Matt's name. So it's this group effort. You can see in the pictures, Rich Hill really took charge. He knew what it was. When Bob got there, I can only assume they just decided this guy knows what he's doing. He's in charge. We're going to all do what he says. In addition to them working on me and realizing so there was no AED at that time down there. And that Vegas facility is huge.
Huge. Yeah.
So up at the very front, apparently they had one. Well, there was another cardiologist who came running up, or an actual cardiologist came running up, and he had one in his car. So they all take
Oh.
off running to go to his car to get that. Meanwhile, now there's been a ceasefire on the entire, for all stages. All the stages stopped. Everybody stopped because my wife was competing also. So she was, I don't know, a couple ranges over. So she wasn't that far away. When they called a ceasefire down there, she was getting ready to start. She had already gone up and staged her rifle, and they were getting ready to start. But she had no idea. We literally had not seen each other compete the entire weekend because we were always at the same time in two different places. And so a number of the girls, Megan Kennedy was one of them. They got a hold of her and wouldn't let her come over. They wanted her to know what was going on, but they were, let's keep these things separate. Now, I'll tell you that I thank them so much for doing that to take care of her. But the reality is she's she's a rock. So you're not going to ruffle her feathers. She understands that, your best chance of success is always stay calm, no matter what you're doing. And so she follows that mode, and she was there. When they got the AED to me, it said I had to have 2 hits at whatever it was, however many watts, at 8 seconds apart, or however that thing really works. And they put it on, my eyes open after it hits me the first time. Ro took some pictures, then my eyes closed, and it prepared to hit me again, and then it hit me again, all the exact same way, and then I was awake, as if nothing had happened. It had been 11 minutes, though. So I was long dead, except for Matt and those guys doing CPR the whole time and doing it correctly, so that, I never had any blood flow issues to my brain. I had nothing. The people, when they flew me to the hospital, when I got to the hospital, people were coming in going, hey, we're going to touch you and go buy lottery tickets. We're going to play the lottery because, dude, nobody shows up here alive. And then the ones that are alive aren't, they've been dead for 8 minutes and
Brain
brought back.
dead or
They got issues. And I was joking the whole time. It was like, I asked the helicopter pilot, dude, there's a helipad at top of Bellagio. That's where we're staying. Can you please drop us off? Thanks for the ride.
Great Uber service here.
Yeah. But anyway, that was to say, I can't say enough about those guys. Nothing mattered at that point except keeping me in the state I needed to be in until they could get the right equipment. And it didn't matter how long it was going to be. I guess there were 2 people who were doing CPR, and they were doing a minute on, minute off. And, they're both combat veterans, and they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Done. And then they just kept doing it. Rich ran the whole thing, oversaw everything, was respirating me, keeping all the timing. And so, it was the worst, best thing that could ever happen. And having the right guys there, having those guys there in general is the only reason that I'm here now, period.
When you say it was the worst, best thing that has ever happened, why would that be the best?
You change. It's one of those things. There's maybe you view things as more important that used to not be so important, and that's a big deal. Not that I wasn't on a bad track. I wasn't doing a bad thing. I wasn't in a bad place, but family and friends, mean a lot more to me now.
Mm. And even just mentioning the people that you were around when that happened. I mean, truly, that's like the stars aligned for having the most well-trained people that you would have needed in that situation to be right there
Yeah.
in lanes next to you.
Yeah. I mean, well, go and look at who's standing around, in particular in the masters categories that are doing this sport.
Yeah.
I mean, in 60 plus, we have 2 Dr. Bobs. I mean, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
most of these people are people who they care about themselves. They care about staying, whether it's staying fit or staying young or staying vital. That's what they're doing. And these are the things, doing challenging things. You know, you can pick apart any sport, any activity, do all you want. But if it's not a challenging thing, then why are you doing it? The tactical games is challenging. It's constantly challenging. And I'm not happy with some of those challenges. I hate that two-gun stuff. You can see how much I hate it. That's where I was the 7th and 8th, you know, my 2 worst results. But that's a challenge. Okay, I hate it, but I hate it because I'm not good at it. If I was better at it, I probably wouldn't hate it so much. So now I have to make myself go do this. Well, I don't like that. But once I do it, then it's an accomplishment. And that's what you're chasing, the accomplishment, the achievement of something. Again, if you're just hanging out, you don't have, you reach 60 years old and you don't have some sort of hobby that challenges you. And I'm not saying it has to be a tactical games physical challenge. It could be chess. You know, that's a game I can't play because remember that part? You got to be smart to do that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of
That's
stuff
okay,
I
me
can't.
either, Jeff.
No.
My brain don't
Golf.
work like that.
Golf. I tried for years to play golf. Oh my God, I don't have the head game for this.
Yeah.
Again, not smart. You got to be smart and you got to be, I don't understand what it is about them. But, you know, the guys who are good at that, great. As long as you have something that's challenging you. And that's one of the problems I had with bike racing. That's probably one of the reasons that I wanted to go do this. It wasn't that, you know, we talk about this all the time. I get a little nervous before I go to every tactical games event. And someone says, well, good, exactly, right. You know, 10 years ago, you could have called me up on Thursday and said, hey, I need you to come up to DC. We're doing a race and we're going to add your name to our team. I need a second lead out man. And I'm like, yeah, okay. It's, you know, it's Thursday. I'll be there. You know, I'll leave tomorrow afternoon. Not nervous. I'm going to go there. I'm going to do a job. I know my job. I know what I'm doing on the bike. Well, why are you doing it? You know, it's not, I don't want to say it's not challenging because it's not like you were going out winning all the time, but you weren't even nervous about doing it. You knew where you were going to be. You knew how you would end up. And you knew that if I do this, this will be my best chance at winning. And it doesn't matter what anybody else does. I'm going to be right there because I'm me. Well, wait a minute. If you can predict it like that, then kind of what's the point? So that was kind of the thing that got me out of that and made me start looking for something. And then when I just stumbled onto this and it was 5 hours away, I was like, hey, call up my buddy, let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell people all the time, they're like, well, what should I be doing to train for the attack? Dude, just go. Go to your first one. It doesn't matter if you can't walk and you pee on the tire in the parking lot of the rest area. Just do whatever you got to do. I mean,
that's such a great visual.
That building was right there and I couldn't make it. It was like, I don't know if I can get back in the truck. You know? my legs and my butt hurt so bad.
We can all relate to a moment when our bodies have felt that way. But Jeff, we're also grateful that you are still here and that that situation, like you said, turned out the best way possible for a really bad situation.
Right.
But then how do you get from basically dying doing one of these things? And not to say that that was the cause, because like you said, you know, you could be sitting on the couch and have that happen. But how do you get from that point to winning a national title? Because I don't know, is there ever any fear or even PTSD when you're on the line, or even your wife having
The fear was
concern?
there for quite a while, and honestly, the fear is still there to some degree, and that'll never go away. But I don't know if you can see that. I have a defibrillator built in,
Oh,
so I have my own AED. They wouldn't
wow.
let me leave Vegas without one. So my wife had been calling back here to. I have two buddies who are surgeons. Anyway, long story short, when I got back here, they wanted me to see a specific guy because he's an athlete. And so I called and they were like, yeah, you can see you in like 4 months or something. I'm like, who goes to see a cardiologist in 4 months? If you got a heart problem,
It's emergent.
yeah, I'll see you in 4 months. What the hell is that? So I made a
Too
couple
long.
phone calls. They made a couple phone calls. And a lady called me back and she said, can you be in this afternoon? I was like, well, yeah, but it's not really that kind of an emergency. I'm not falling out right now.
Yeah.
So I went to go see this guy. And he's still my doctor. And I go back once a year. And, he didn't really put my mind at ease. But what he said was, if it happens again, you're taken care of. So I said, really, this will take care of it. I said, well, what if I'm driving and I fall out? Great. It hits me and brings me back. And now I'm in a terrible accident already, And he's like, no, you wouldn't even go out this time. So it's unfortunate. I didn't have my Garmin on. That was like the one stage I didn't start my damn watch on.
Come on,
And
Jeff.
I was so focused. It was the last one of the day, and I want to be on the podium.
Yeah,
I didn't start my watch, so I don't know how long it was, and they don't either. There's almost no.
I would have loved to know that data.
Yeah. How long was I at over my normal max before I actually went out? Because you just wouldn't even realize it if that was happening to you.
Yeah.
So, or did it stop back when I was up on the rope and it took that long for me to go out? I don't have any idea. Which there's another story to that. The very first one I went back to was Florida, not this year, but last year. That was my first one back. This was in September. I went in March to Florida. And the very first stage I did was the same one we did in Las Vegas on the ropes. The one I died on. I was like, Nick, are you kidding me? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, this is the stage. He goes, oh my God, it is. It's like, yeah, well, I got to survive it and then I'll be good. But as far as the fear goes, I don't think you could really shake it off. What I do know is I'm in a study. There's 7,300 of us. I don't know how many there are now. I'm number 7330 something. In that group, of the people who have an AED and have had it happen again, which only 15% ever experience it again, none of them died. The AED has saved them every time. Their implant has saved them every time. Now, there have been some squashed in car accidents and things like that. It's not going to save you from that. But, it works. And so I just took the approach when I came back. My doctor, who is a runner himself, and he has a bunch of soccer players, local guys, who have had this, and they have an implant as well. He's like, here's the deal. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take 2 weeks off from now. You're not doing anything else for 2 weeks. Then you're going to start walking. And I started rucking. wasn't just going to walk. I didn't want people to see me just walking down the damn road. So at least carry something, you know. And so I was rucking, and I did that for 2 more weeks. And he said, after that, you're going to go back and train like you're going to the tactical games, 100% exactly as you would train. But I want you walking and walking hard for 2 weeks after 2 weeks off. And that was what I did. And Nick even called me one day when I was out rucking. And I just kind of did it, and I followed it, and I built into it. I mean, the first day I went running, I mean, I'm watching my watch the whole time as I'm running, you know, and I'm like, okay, I want to know what my heart rate is the entire time. And nothing's ever happened. I mean, so, and that follows suit because they don't know why it happens. The best theory is that it takes 20 different things to occur for all at the same time for this to happen. And several of them are kind of known things that I was experiencing there. And so if you eliminate those and you never have that again, then you can't have the 20 things. That's the mentality. And so that's what I've done. And I those things I had going on there, dehydration for one, I was terribly dehydrated that going in that second day. I barely drank the night before. I don't know why. I was in Vegas and I'm dry to begin with. And why are you not drinking? I woke up in the middle of the night and, you know, just my throat was swollen. I just had all kinds of weird stuff going on. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And, but none of that stuff, you know, I also used to be a anti-salt guy. I didn't need any salt. Now I'm mostly carnivore diet. And I salt the hell out of stuff and still have low sodium. So, you know, just certain things, I guess, apply to certain people, and you need to figure those out. And there you go. You know, when it comes to other guys who know this stuff and they ask me about it, that's what they always want to know is, well, what caused it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm like, well, you don't know. I don't know. You don't know. I think my wife's home.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, you know, you won nationals in the first ever 60 plus division. What has been your biggest takeaway from being able to end the year on such a high success, seeing you start almost not wanting to come back, can't go inside to pee, to standing on top of the podium and, you know, not injured this year?
Well, I'm hoping that our 60 plus group grows. There's a lot of really good guys out there that should be beating me. There are guys there. I mean, I only won by like 3 percentage points. I think slightly less than 3 percentage points. Like wasn't Griswold was like 97 some percent.
He was 96.13%. Yeah, so
okay,
about 4%.
Close to 4%.
Then him and Robert Hansen were really close.
Right, right
less
together.
Than a percentage point. Yep.
And if you skip on down to, I think, 5th or so was Robert Boyd.
Robert Boyd, in 6th, but he was
6th.
Really close to Jason.
Well, actually, he was much closer than that. He would have been right on me, but he had a stage DQ.
Oh, yeah.
He had a stage DQ that was not a safety issue, a technical sort of thing. And, you know, I hated that because this guy was right on me. And it was like, you know, he's got horns. I can see him. They're red horns sticking out. That's my guy, you know?
He's coming for you.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, shit, he's not there. You know, so you want to have that competition. You want someone right there. Because it's not really you're whatever it is you win, you're not even paying for that trip. I mean, this is not about winning. You know, so in our case, especially in the 60 plus, it's about fostering the competition so the other guys who thrive off of that will come out. And so I think next year will be even better. I know there's Jeffrey Pleasant in particular is coming in from 50 plus. And he beat me in Florida this year. And I think I beat him in South Carolina. So we're right there together. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to it. My two gun is going to improve. And
with that whole range you have outside, Jeff.
I'm gonna use it. I swear I'll use it. I already said I told my guys I gotta clean the range up, get it organized, and start using it. So anyway, it is what it is. But I'm gonna tell you, this has been a great year. I'm so glad we finally got to compete. And now this year we competed as a category up until nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't truly competing head to head. Now we'll be a division and we'll be competing head to head every time. And that's going to really make it grow, because the guy coming in who's never done it and he's looking at the results, yeah, it might say that guy is 60. And then there's one that was 5th and one that was 9th and one 13th. But now we'll be in our own division. And then he sees what he has to do and what he can do. And I think it'll grow.
Well, Jeff, incredible success this year and your whole journey in tactical games. Thank you for being a trailblazer. Thank you for still coming out and also telling your story, because I love seeing you out there and you're an inspiration to so many people.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I just want it to be better for the older guys, and mainly me. It's really all about me.
Make it better for Jeff and the Masters.
There you go.